I'd like to welcome Carrian Cheney to the podcast today. She was Oh Sweet Basil, and we'll talk more about what that means. I'm so excited for her to be on here. I have been a follower of hers for a long time. She has amazing things that she shares. So welcome, Carrian.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm so happy to be here. I love doing these things and kind of seeing where the conversation goes.
Yeah, it'll be fun. So tell us a little bit about you.
Okay, so I was born and raised in the Pacific Northwest in Vancouver, Washington, which if you're from that area, you generally just say Portland, Oregon, because as soon as you say Vancouver, everyone thinks Canada. So I'm not from Canada, but born and raised there. My husband and I met in college, and the rest is kind of history there. We've been married for almost 20 years. We have 3 children, which spans a big space. We have a 17-year-old, a 13-year-old, and an almost 8-year-old, which if you're a parent, you know those are 3 dynamic ages, like one super independent, ready to leave home, and then one that's 13, and that's just enough said right there. The beginning of teenage years. And then there is this magical thing that happens when a child is about to turn 8 years old. And I don't know if this is true for everyone, but they become super independent too and kind of push back on things. So I am surrounded by lots of independent thinkers right now. And it's teaching me a lot of humility that mom actually doesn't know all, and I need to listen as much as I teach. So our lives are a little bit crazy right now. We just relocated to Farmington, Utah from Utah County, and that has come with its own story. We've been blogging for like 15 years now. So we originally started our food blog just as a hobby. It really was just nothing more than I had heard there was this thing called a blog that you could put recipes online, and whenever we'd invite friends over to eat and they'd say, could I grab that recipe from you? I was like, yeah, I'm going to stick it on the blog, and that way you can get it whenever you're ready, because I'll probably forget to email it. So as time went on, people all over the world started commenting, and we realized that this was actually a really big deal. My husband was unemployed at the time, and he was very inspired to just say one day, hey, maybe blogs could be a source of revenue. And, you know, back then they weren't at all. So we kind of jumped in, and now here we are 15 years later, and it's still our main source of income. And we've had many amazing opportunities because of it. We've been able to write 2 cookbooks and travel to different places around the world and get to know different people. We were on a speaking tour for 2 years. It has gone from what we thought was a great trial, that it was nothing more than putting us in the right place with the right mindset for the greatest blessing ever. So not a trial at all. In fact, it was setting us up for success. So
that's awesome.
Kind of our story.
So you say we, so you and your husband have been doing this together the whole time?
Yeah, we've been doing it together this whole time. So Cade generally is with me. He also is an administrator for healthcare, and I don't know that he'll ever step away from that. He loves his job and is quite happy taking care of people and kind of being in that health world. And so he is actually at work right now. He would normally sit in on this with me, but you know, they've had a lot going on at their facility. In fact, he has an employee who just very unexpectedly lost her spouse on the 4th of July. And so he is just taking care of lots of things right now. So he's up at work.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how was that journey? I mean, even as being on a book tour, I've heard those things can be kind of strenuous. So how was that?
It was the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Okay.
To be honest with you, you know, it was wonderful. It brought so many amazing opportunities to be with people who wanted to talk about food and life and struggles and happiness. And that really created such a community for us. There is nothing in this world that I love more than connecting with people. And we're really quite blessed in that our readership is the same. Our readership is happy to connect and to genuinely reach out to one another. I have seen so many people leave a comment on a post about a struggle they're going through, and people just rally around them and leave the
That's neat.
nicest comments. Or if someone's being really negative, sometimes it goes a little too far, but for the most part, our readers will kind of softly say, "Hey, let's tone it down. Like maybe you haven't heard the full story or whatever." And the book tour brought that opportunity to life for us. We got to physically be in the same place as people. At the same time, it was exhausting. It's a lot of work to put a book out there, and then it's 10 times the work to publicize it, which I
Wow.
hadn't expected the first round. I had kind of thought, this is the really hard work, and then once it's out, it's out. But it's the opposite. The easy part is writing the book. The hard part is getting out there and promoting it for the next year, And then I would say the hardest part of all was just it takes a lot of time away from family.
Yeah.
And at the end of 2 years, we kind of had to reevaluate and say, this is a really good work. But the best work right now is our children. And as much as we can be out there connecting with people and hopefully being a blessing to other people by sharing our story and our faith, our kids need that more. And so it was a really hard decision to walk away, and I still live in it. The way that we function on social media is drastically different than most other bloggers. We're not on 24/7. We're not producing videos every single day, because I'm choosing to drop everything and to go to the neighbor's pool with my kids and sit there and watch them dunk each other 100 times. And that seems very insignificant, but I really believe with all my heart that it is going to have a much bigger effect on the world to raise 3 good human beings than to be on social media, which the audience is bigger, right? But my personal touch with these children, I think will go throughout generations, and that's my goal. So.
Yeah, it's very impactful for your children, for even just that time of you being there, right? Even you're not in the pool, maybe dunking them, but even just being or are you?
They're like, "Mom, do you want to get them?" I'm not today. Another day. But I'm really good at sitting on the side of the pool and having them jump in and take pictures. So
and they know you're there. And
and
that's important.
And
yeah.
I do think that matters. It matters to me looking back that, all my friends in junior high, I remember them. This is almost embarrassing to say, but I remember them getting on the payphone in the hallway and like calling their parent and saying, "Oh, I need you to bring my lunch money. I forgot it." And the parent would say, I can't. And that's there's nothing wrong with that. Those parents were doing the best they could, but boy, it made me feel so seen and valued that at any time I knew my mom was available for me. And we all have different stories, and some kids don't need that as much as I did, but mine do. Mine need to have someone present. So,
and that's awesome. You have that opportunity. You can do that. So,
yeah,
and you're choosing to do that, right?
I mean, don't get me wrong. There have been years in the beginning where we had to work a lot with the kids present because we were trying to make a go of this.
Yeah.
So we've been in those shoes too, where it was, waking up at 4 o'clock in the morning and working until the kids woke up, and then working in their nap times, and even working while they were present and saying, "Hang on, I know the light's so good. I've got to shoot this recipe." There's balance in all things, and our kids have definitely seen all sides of it. So,
which is also good in learning too for them.
I think so. I think so. Yeah.
Did you put your recipes on the blog to, begin with? I mean, did you have a food background already, or it just developed?
I just, it's so funny because my mom says to me all the time, "I can't believe you're doing this. No one was a pickier eater than you."
Oh, really?
I hated all things growing up. In fact, my sister just said to me the other day, I was teasing her about something she didn't like, and she was like, "Really? Coming from the one who would pick out every single piece of ground hamburger out of a casserole?" And I was like, I mean, that's valid. Like, they would all be scooted to the side of my plate. There was this rice and ground beef casserole. Just think about ground beef and rice. And I would take the time to get out every little piece of it.
My goodness.
So no food background. I am the opposite of who should be a food blogger. But something happened in college. I discovered, a woman had said to me at church one day, my senior year, I had made cookies for her son, and she had said, "Carrian, those were so good. I hope you never stop cooking for people." And then I went to college a few months later, and it became this thing for me. Like I would notice a roommate was struggling and I would make something for her, or I'd invite people over to have dinner together or something. And it became an opportunity for me to gather people and to love on them. At times it gave me an opportunity to just flat out serve them. I had a roommate my first year that I noticed wasn't really eating. And as time went on, I discovered that it was because she had no money to buy groceries. And so she was eating very minimal amounts. So I would accidentally make too much and then offer, "Hey, I accidentally made too much dinner. Do you want to eat with me?" Um, and
That's
then
awesome.
and then the passion for cooking came after that. You know, first came the love of people, and then after that, I decided that, oh, salad actually tastes delicious, and ground beef is flavorful and good, and it's not weird at all. And so then it became a thing. And my husband and I, when we were engaged, took a cooking class together in
Oh,
college,
fun.
and it just exploded from there. I think it was the right time, right place, and I had the right person standing next to me at that time. And so we were just filled with this encouragement, and it brought us closer together and gave us a hobby. You know, you would be surprised how much standing shoulder to shoulder is more of a connection than face to face. So
Yeah, that's
really
neat. And I, like you said about your purpose wasn't really the food. Your purpose was gathering and helping and serving people. And I really felt
totally.
the strength and the spirit as you were saying that, just how powerful that is. And that's what mealtime for me is more about, especially dinner time or whatever for families, and the gathering and that connecting time, that conversation that happens as you're by each other. And so, and I love that
I
you're,
agree.
yeah. And I love that you and your husband, are doing this together from the get-go. So that is so
Yeah.
fun.
Yeah, we've had some good dinners and some not so good dinners.
Some experimental dinners.
Some experimental dinners that immediately end up in the trash can, and we're like, I literally can't take another bite of that. We can't do this. We got to have something else. And cereal it is. But no, you're right. It's the gathering. It's for sure the gathering. It is by no coincidence that food stays with us. It is something that uses every sense. You've got your hearing, listening to it cooking, and the smelling of it cooking, and the taste of it, and the feel of it as you chop the vegetables, and you're watching all the colors. And I think things that use all of our senses become permanent memories within us, and permanent bonds between us. Anytime you say to someone, "If you could see your grandma one more time, what would you want?" And they're always like, "Oh, I'd want her rolls," or "I'd want her," that's no coincidence. It bonds us. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, that's beautiful. I love that.
Yeah.
Food is good and it's enjoyable too. So when
And
it
it
tastes good,
happens
right?
to taste good. It happens most of the time. It tastes
Yeah.
good. Yeah.
So you mentioned about lighting before, like the perfect lighting with your kids and stuff. So do you do all your own photography? Do you do all the bits?
Yes. So I do all my own photography, and I really have such a natural pull towards natural light that I haven't gone for, the lighting setup yet. I know I could in the future, but there is just always, my whole life, there has been something about lighting that just moves me. Like right now, I keep looking out the window and just thinking, oh, it's actually a really perfect day to shoot because the light's really clean right now. It's kind of overcast. You're not getting that harsh light in on you right now. And so I don't know, there's something that speaks to me about just what our earth can already give us. But I mean, I don't
Yeah.
want to sound hokey, but there's something beautiful about light, and I love the lessons that come from it. So I have really kind of centered my photography around that, around using the natural light, and there's a lot to learn. I still have so much to learn. And we're in a rental house right now that doesn't have really any light. So I'm learning a lot about, how to make this work, and it's really forcing me to work out some of my weaknesses. But I enjoy the creativity of it so much. I don't think I could ever give up that aspect of this job.
Yeah. I love the natural light too. I mean, like you said, there is I don't know, there's a warmth to it as well, right? And it's just, it's
Yeah.
amazing. The natural light, it brings
Yeah.
power to me anyway.
Yeah. It's so interesting that it has, light allows you to see things. Light allows you to capture things and to be creative. Light allows you healing.
Hmm.
Think about all those new babies born with jaundice, and what do? You stick them in front of a window and let the light heal them.
Yeah.
There's just so much to it, and I think it's one of the things that we really take for granted. We need to be grateful for all that it allows us to do.
Yeah. I've even, when I was taking pictures of some things, opened the doorway and just do it
Yeah,
right there. There's a lot.
yeah, exactly. Just get it in wherever you can. I've done the same,
Yeah.
actually.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So I mean, with your family kind of being involved sometimes with the food and everything, did they go and explore with you, like even in
Yeah,
recipes? And I mean, I'm sure they're a big
totally.
part of it, right?
Totally. Yeah, it's funny because they have all taken after me and started out their journeys in a very picky way.
Oh, yeah.
So the 17-year-old will now try anything. The 13-year-old's getting there. The 8-year-old, or the 7-year-old, I should say. I mean, he's a food nightmare. So heaven forbid I made chicken last night and it was an emotional situation. He's
Oh, yeah.
bawling about it. Why do you always make things I don't like? And I'm like,
Because you don't
okay,
like anything.
well, yeah, it is actually what I said. I said, well, it's pretty easy because you don't like anything. So here we are. No, yeah, they joined me in everything. I mean, when they were little, I hauled them to the grocery store constantly, and it wasn't just for convenience, it's because I wanted them to help participate. I wanted them to touch the food, to get to know the food. It just makes it more comfortable for them. And then cooking, they're involved a lot. My two daughters made the most delicious chicken a couple months ago. I kind of challenged them. I was like, I got you guys these ingredients and I'm taking a day off. So you can only use these things and you've got to make something happen with it. And she made this pesto chicken that was covered in a sun-dried tomato sauce with
Oh,
this
yum.
like browned mozzarella over the top. And I'm telling you, just this Sunday, I was like, we've got to make that again, Peyton. Like, I'm serious, we've got to blog that. It was so good. So they're in every step of it. And when we travel, they know how we live our lives. Like we look up the restaurants ahead of time and they get excited to see what we're going to try and excited to meet the people behind the food. And they're good at videos and breaking things open in just the right way to see the cheese ooze out. And yeah, they're totally involved. And at times they don't want to be. And so we just say, okay, hey, no worries. So yeah, it's been a whole family ordeal for sure.
That's good. That's good. Yeah, there's a lot of growth together, that gathering
Yeah.
again in that
And
way.
it's comfortable, right? Because it's no one is right or wrong or someone's getting their way.
Hmm.
It's just a neutral territory. We just get to be
Yeah.
involved with each other. So
And recently you went to Oregon was that for a food trip?
yeah, we worked with Oregon Berries, which is
Okay.
like my dream brand right now
Oh,
because
yeah.
it's like it marries everything together, my past and my present. And I have always loved berries so much. I tend to go fruit desserts over anything else.
Uh-huh.
So, I mean, there's not a week that goes by that I'm not eating berries. So we got to go travel with them, and I was just amazed by everything I didn't know about that life. I mean, you've got hundreds and hundreds of acres of berries and the thought process that goes into, well, these plants are kind of struggling and we need to bring in a different variety to plant next to it that will help them to thrive.
Hmm.
And we only cut these ones down to this level, but this kind of blackberry needs to be cut to a different level. And yet they're all the same, they're all blackberries, but
It's
there's
interesting.
so many varieties and they taste so many different ways. It was fascinating to learn about, and it was encouraging for me to really share with our readers. It matters that we support our farmers and
Yeah.
our local growers, because eventually, if anything happens and we can't get outside sources, we need these people to be thriving. So it was so fun.
Yeah, it seems like it would be a very delicious trip.
It was so good. They're like, we're gonna have pie for lunch, and I was like,
Okay.
I'm so in. I just can't even tell you how in I am. So, and now my brain's buzzing, right? Everything inspires me. And I came home thinking, oh, there's all these berry things I want to make. And then I thought, ooh, but actually berries paired with like ricotta cheese in a dip for this winter would be amazing. So now my mind's like, okay,
Hmm.
how can we make this all happen? So it's fun. It's inspiring for sure.
That's cool. So what inspires you with your recipes besides like the berries? I mean, how do you decide what recipes you're going to work on or share?
Good question. So honestly, it's exhausting to be me. My brain is constantly full, and if you could see the backlog of recipes I'm always working on, it's almost embarrassing. Like I have this huge list that is constantly running, and it's well over 100 recipes that
Wow.
just this year I'm like, this would be good and this would be good. And the worst part is I'm constantly adding to it. So everything inspires me. Like absolutely everything inspires me. So, yesterday we were making dinner and I thought, oh, I'm just going to throw together this chicken with this sauce and it'll be so easy. And as I opened the fridge, I saw the apple butter sitting there and I was like, oh my gosh, pork with an apple butter sauce would be amazing. Like it's just constantly buzzing in my mind. It keeps me up at night. I have become the worst sleeper ever because it's just running and running. And I've learned that I have to be writing things down to empty my brain out because otherwise I'll lay awake all night going, well, if rhubarb cake is good, then rhubarb crisp would be good. But oh my goodness, what would be really good is to do a cheesecake bar. And it's exhausting.
It's a
It
never
never
ending.
ends.
Yeah.
It's never ending. Yes, yes.
That's fun. Never
Everything is
boring for you. It's that
It's
is so
always exciting.
yeah. So I noticed, I mean, recently you had a tragic accident can with your mouth and thinking about
Yeah.
eating food and all that stuff. Can you talk
Yeah.
about that?
Yeah. So it was just one of those dumb decisions where you look back and go, "Ugh, you had been told a million times and you didn't listen." So we clean the church occasionally as families, and we had just done that, and it had been a really beautiful morning. Like everyone showed up to help clean, and my husband was out of town, and so it was just me and the kids. And on a whim, I had taken him out and gotten them each a donut after, and everyone was all happy. And we got home, and I had just gotten ready for the day, and I just had this moment of, you know what? No, stop going along with your plans today. Drop everything and just go spend time with your little guy. Like the girls both had somewhere to be. And so I was like, Grayson, do you want to go for a bike ride? And he's like, ooh, even to say it now, I'm like, no. He was like, yeah. And he was so excited because, when does the mom say, let's go ride bikes together? So we hop on the bikes and, like I said, we've moved here recently. And so a lot of our stuff is in a storage unit right now. And
Mhm.
his helmet and bike was not. My bike was out, but originally we had forgotten to grab the helmet. So the bike had just been sitting in the garage. And I didn't know my husband had gotten it. So I just thought, ooh, I should get a helmet on. Excuse me. But I thought, no, we're just going to take a couple loops around our cul-de-sac. Like it'll be no big deal. So I hop on the bike and we're seriously like just outside of our little loop, still here at our neighborhood. And there's just this tiny little slope that leads down to the walking path. And I mean tiny, embarrassingly tiny. And I hit it at just the right way that, the grass was growing and I couldn't see that the asphalt actually fell into a chunk and then loose gravel right there. So
Mm.
everywhere was dirt and grassy hill, but the grass had grown up really tall right there and I couldn't see that it actually fell. And so my wheel hit it just the right way in that loose gravel and just flipped me right on my face and knocked my front teeth in. And I've got an injured hand that I still can't. I mean, I can close it that much, but other than that, I'm stuck. So
Wow.
scraped up face and everything. But what's interesting about the whole thing is that, well, first of all, my only fear my whole life has been breaking my teeth. Like,
Oh, wow.
like a living thing for me. I would be walking down the stairs even as a kid, and I'd be like pulling my lips in over my teeth and just think, whoa, what if I fell right now and broke my teeth? Like total psychomaniac thoughts right here. But so for that to be the one thing that happened was, just such an awful thing for me. I was like,
Yeah.
but this is the one thing I was afraid of, but it's been nothing but a blessing. And I don't want to sound like, oh, look at me, I'm seeing the bright side, because I have sobbed my eyes out, when in the first few days of it, I had a day where I finally broke down and was like, why did I make such a dumb mistake? Right before I got to that hill, twice in my mind, just as clear as day, was the thought, get off your bike and walk it down the hill. And
Wow.
I don't mean I had the thought. In my mind were the words, get off your bike and walk it. And I just thought, I have a tendency to be very cautious. And so I thought, Carrie Ann, buck up. Your son rides down this hill all the time. It's tiny, just go over the hill. And so at first I got kind of angry with myself and thought, why didn't you listen? But a man I had just met the previous day happened to be driving by, and he happened to see it happen, jumped out of his car and came and helped me up. Now it could have been anyone, and that would have been helpful. But to see a familiar face kind of settled me down.
Yeah.
And he happened to have been, I believe, what was it? Not a boxer. I can't remember. Martial arts, but I can't remember what kind. He had done that for years and years and years. And so he is very familiar with having a bloodied up face. And so he talked to me in all the right ways, looked at everything, explained everything. You've got a split lip, that it's possible they'll put a stitch in it, but I think they'll be able to pull your teeth back forward. And, all these nice
you hit
things
your
that
mouth
just,
and hurt your
I hit my mouth hard.
Yeah.
Yeah, my teeth were so busted in. So, and just blood everywhere. And, I had split my left hand, this like weird webbing stuff. I don't know what you call it, but that had split wide open. And so it was a miracle that he was there. What are the chances? And then my daughter was supposed to be at a baseball game, and she had lost track of time, and she should have gone out the neighborhood this way. And instead she went out this way and happened to pull up just as he had picked me up and walked me over to the sidewalk. And so she jumped out of the car, and, like I said, my husband was out of town. And so she's a driver, and she was able to drive me to the hospital and then drive me to the dentist to pull my teeth back. And, there's still things happening that, I need to head back into braces for the third time. And, there's still things that need to be fixed. My hand hasn't healed yet, but I'm grateful for moments to recognize that I can hear and listen to promptings. I didn't act on them at that time, but you better believe it's sealed up in me to act on every little thing now. And I'm grateful for people. It helped my daughter and I, we'd had a contentious week, kind of bickering back and forth. And I think it helped us to both see each other again. So that was very long-winded. I'm very sorry.
Oh, no, that's good.
But it was nothing but a blessing, truly. It really has been. And I wish it hadn't happened, but it's been a journey that I'm grateful for.
Yeah. And you're learning from, you wish it wouldn't have happened, but you're learning from what did happen. And I think that's beautiful. And just
please don't break your teeth, people.
Yeah.
Not worth it.
Yeah. I've had mouth issues, and it's not fun, but your mouth looks great. Your teeth
Thank
look great.
I know you can't, thankfully on video, you really can't tell that I've got two still tucked behind each other. They look almost flat, but when I bite, they hit each other, and I'm often reminded, oh yeah, they're not in the right place. So, and they're empty. I had to have root canals. They died and turned dark gray, and
wow,
I had to fill them full of bleach and turn them the right color again. But I never wanted a root canal, and now I can say that I survived it. So
that's right. Yeah. That's amazing. And just that, like you said, that prompting, and that sometimes, you said you're going to follow it every time, but sometimes, like you were doing in that moment, it's like, oh, Carrie Ann, talking to yourself, thinking it was just your own thoughts. And sometimes it's hard to determine,
Yes. Yeah. So, especially when it's the ease of the way, right? Because it was easier to just keep going. Like I was already crossing the road to get to that slope. And so to jump off my bike in the middle of the road felt more awkward
Mhm.
than safe. It's a main road. It didn't feel like a good decision. So, but I've learned that sometimes the things that don't make the most sense are the things that are the most important to follow.
Mhm.
We moving here, we found out we were being relocated and felt very strongly to sell our home immediately. Like a pounding. I cannot express the urgency we felt. We listed our home within the first week of finding out we were being relocated. It sold in less than 24 hours.
Wow.
And then we spent all summer looking for a home and never ended up finding one.
Wow.
Well, hindsight, right? You look back and we sold our home on a Friday. Monday, interest rates went up. And then that same Thursday, interest rates went up a second time and everything died.
Wow.
No one else that was selling their home in our neighborhood sold their home. It just completely stopped. And so, sure, we got in a bit of a situation because we couldn't find a place to live and we're still looking, but we are in the right place. The people around us, the experiences we've had here, there is no doubt in my mind we were meant to come here. And no doubt in my mind that our home would not have sold if we hadn't posted it that week. So the things that don't make sense, like selling your home before you have one to move into, sometimes are the right choices.
Yeah, we're actually going through that right now where we've sold our home. We're to be out next week and we're moving to a property that doesn't have a home. So we have an
Yeah.
RV that we're going to live in fifth wheel. There's no electricity,
Uh-huh.
there's no sewage, there's no nothing there. So
Yeah.
just hoping it all comes together.
It is going to all come together. It is
Yeah.
all going to work out. I just listened to this talk this morning and he said, Gordon B. Hinckley always said, every morning I'd wake up and say, it's all going to work out okay. And I believe that with all my heart. And you are not alone. The flood of people that we have had DM us saying, we've sold our home and can't find a place, or we're moving to a property and there is no home, so we're moving into our RV, you would be shocked. You are amongst hundreds of people that have DM'd us with that same story. And
Wow.
and why is that the case right now? I think there's purpose,
Oh yeah, I totally think there's purpose. Don't know what that is right now, but it'll
No
come.
one does. We're all wondering. Happy to
Right.
hear if anyone wants to drop us a line. But
Right.
there will be growth for sure. Sometimes when there is no answer, I think it's because we're being granted the greatest blessing that we want in the future. And so the no's here are because we really want that yes that can only come from sitting and waiting.
Yeah. Oh wow, that's pretty powerful. I love that. And I totally believe that. I think there's
Yeah.
no coincidences. Like as we're
No.
really truly just trying to do the best in our lives, things just fall into place for a reason. Like you meeting that man before you even needed him, just
Yeah.
the little things. And
Yeah.
and the light in our lives, just opening a window or walking outside. That's such a blessing.
God is in the details. We
Yes.
just don't choose to acknowledge it.
Well, I really appreciate you taking the time to be with me, Carrian. This has been so delightful to talk with you again and just have you share your light and just
So
not
grateful.
even through food, but just all your experiences you've shared. I love it. And
All connected for sure.
yeah. So tell everybody where they can find you and get those yummy recipes.
Thank you. Okay. So on social media, it's at Oh Sweet Basil. And then to get all of our recipes, you just head to Oh Sweet Basil, ohsweetbasil.com.
Awesome.
And then you can find our books anywhere, Amazon, online at Target, Walmart, or Deseret Book.
Yeah. And just watching on social media and your videos of your food and your posts, it's just like, oh yes, I got to make this.
I'm so glad. I'm so glad. I just want people to have deliciousness as much as I do.
Yeah.
Everyone deserves something good.
Yes. And the connection that comes with the food, the people connections is awesome too. So thank you so much, Carrian.
Thank you.